Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is Monday, May 3rd. Oh my God, we are already in May. Oh my God, a lot of exciting things this month. First of all, today is my father-in-law's birthday. He is no longer with us, but we still celebrate, remember, and honor him. I miss him so much. I just been thinking about him all morning and I just miss him so much. I'm going to decorate the altar for him like I did the other day for my dad on his death anniversary. So I'm going to figure that out and I'm going to do some Instagram, maybe picture post or something, saying happy birthday and how much I miss him. I really do miss him a lot. Like I've said in my previous video in the series of Our Life Abroad, um, how just how much he meant to me and what an inspiration he was to me, and just the connection we had, the bond that we had, just the memories of him and us, and his storytelling was just like incredible. The wisdom that he had, he was truly, truly a second dad to me, truly. And I think that even like with my dad was very reserved, even though I have so many fond memories of him and me and the things he said and the things he did for me. I have so many. And I hate it that I wish I didn't have a that I wish I had a camera back then. And there were cameras out there. When I was growing up, there wasn't even disposable cameras. I don't even think the 35 millimeter and the 110 camera that were the two ones that were out when I was growing up, but there was some form of camera, and my dad had a lot of money, so I'm sure if I would have asked him for my birthday or for Christmas to get me some form of camera photography, he would have did it, because he really gave me the best of the best. And so I had my own beautiful bed, my own room. He gave me a stereo that had everything, AM, FM radio, the cassette, the 8-track that was back in the day, the turntable. It was really beautiful. And I remember my siblings going, what? We didn't have that when we were growing up. Carmen gets everything. And my dad's explanation was, well, Carmen's the baby and Carmen's by herself. When you guys were growing up, it was 6 of you together. And so it was, harder, not harder because my dad always had a lot of money, but it would have been, how do I get everybody a stereo? Or even if he got one stereo, which I remember my brothers did have a stereo in the boys' room, because man, my one brother, he used to love to play records. He was so into different like groups, band groups and stuff like that. And so there was a stereo because I remember him singing and listening to it and even dancing to it in the room. My sisters they're like, when I was born, one sister, my oldest sister, is 16 years older than me. And my other sister in the middle is 12 years older than me. So I barely had a few years before the sister in the middle left to get married. And I think that my other two sisters weren't really close, and they had two completely different lives. So I don't think they had a room together where they shared a stereo or anything. I have to look into that more. But I have a good memory and I don't remember any of that. But of course, they're so much older than me. So maybe they did have something that I just never saw. But yeah, so I just wish that I would have had some type of photography or camera thing, and I would have just taken so many memories, because I remember always loving photos and videos, and how when you had a photo, not videos because videos wasn't out, but there were slideshows. We used to have a family friend who used to take slides for us and then come back and had a projector and would show us the slides of family photos, Christmases and stuff like that. And I thought, God, that's really cool. And so, yeah, that's my only regret, is that I didn't push or ask, hey, can you get me some type of camera? And I know there would have been an arm and a leg back then, but I think that that would have been the one thing that would have meant so much to me and that would have helped me, because I would have taken so many photos of those memories and I didn't. And so all I have is what I got, which I still have to go through the bin and get as much as memories as I can to share with you guys. But yeah, so me and my father, we really had a close relationship. Like, again, my father was reserved, and he was just like, he wasn't the type to come in our room or in the living room or whatever and, do storytelling. Anything that we knew about his childhood or his life, we had to ask and we had to dig, kind of get it from my mother because they were raised together in the same town in Puerto Rico. They knew each other's family since they were toddlers. So my mother's the one that I would ask and she would give me all the information. But through my father, he wasn't a storyteller. He didn't share any information unless you ask. He might answer. So that was the one thing I did have with my father-in-law that I didn't have with my father was that bonding. And then my dad would give me advice, but it wasn't clear-cut advice. It was just if you asked him for advice, he would give you his straightforward, tell it like it is answer. And my father-in-law wasn't like that. He, as far as storytelling and sharing memories, my father-in-law was so in-depth and so kind and so revealing, and just that was like he wanted you to ask him questions. He wanted to tell you stories. He wanted to pour out all those memories as much as he could so he would leave something behind so somebody would know the stories and how he told it and how he felt, because there was no one that he really could do that with, not even with his children. Because I don't really think, I'm sure they knew a lot. You know a lot about your parents and your father, and I'm sure they had their own memories that they cherish and their own things that they knew. But these were like really personal, really like loving stuff. And just his feelings that he would say, I'm so happy of the person that you are because you have so much patience and you're listening to me. You want to know and you want to hear what I have to say. And I can express myself with you and get really personal with you. And, sometimes there's children, like even in my family, my siblings are on the go. Go, 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 go. Got to take care of business. And it's not to say that they don't have feelings. Everybody has feelings, and it's not to say that they don't care. I'm sure in their own way they cared, but some people just don't have the time to really sit and get personal like that. And it just was something that was in me, and I was always different that way. I was always curious, always had questions, always wanted to know, wanted to hear, wanted to dig deep, wanted to get real personal and emotional. I was just that one. I was so different from my siblings, and they had their boundaries, and I was just, come on, let's just bust those door down and stuff like that. And probably sometimes I was annoying, but I wanted to know. So yeah, that's the difference between him and my dad. That, I mean, he would talk to me, and my dad was like, gotta go to work, come home. He'd say something cute or funny to you. We had times when we sat at the table and ate dinner, and my dad was really quiet. He wasn't the type to speak when you're eating. He hated people speaking when they ate. Like, you could be at the table with him and you might can ask him a question here and there, but he would rather you concentrate on eating and let him do the same, and let's move on. So my dad was really loving, really special, and we had a connection as well. And there's so many memories I have with my dad, and he was a great provider. He wasn't perfect, and certainly wasn't great to my mom. But like I said in the previous video, at the end, he apologized to my mom. He said he was really sorry for everything he said and did to her to hurt her. He was sorry that he wasn't a good husband by any means, and that, he really regret being like that because he would have been with her to his last day, and that he was thankful that she was there, that she put everything behind, and that they shared children together, and she was there, and she really became his best friend in those last few years. And she was there when he died, when he passed away in the house. So it was, how can I say, they're two different fathers that I love dearly, that love me dearly, that did so much for me and with me. But as far as storytelling and really sitting down and being a part of the moment, I think my father-in-law was more of that kind of person than my dad was. So my dad smoked, my father-in-law didn't, but both of them drank. So there was a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. But anyway, in this video, I'm sorry I had to spill that out because it's his birthday today. That's why I'm kind of going back and talking still about him, because in my previous video I said a lot about him. Let me do this camera a little bit better. There you go. Okay, there I am. So you were back to Our Life Abroad, living in Mexico. As I said, we don't live in Mexico. If you haven't seen the first three or what am I on, part 4 or 5? I can't even remember. Oh my God. If you haven't seen my first 3 videos, let's say 3, yeah, we don't live abroad now. We are in the United States. I was born and raised in the United States, so were my children. My husband has been here for 36 years. And so, give me a moment. So yeah, so he's been here 36 years. And so this is our life. When we lived abroad in Mexico, it was in the early years of our marriage, in the early 90s, 91 to be exact. So yeah, so we're so thankful that we had that experience, that we decided to live in Mexico and give it a try. So I'm going to kind of recap things from the beginning of the time that we lived there. We moved to Mexico in May of 1991. We were so excited because we knew we would have a chance to be with my in-laws before. You never know how long people will last. And just experience their world in their country and not have them coming to us. And that meant a lot to them, a lot, that I was willing to follow my husband and go to Mexico and get to know the family, the friends, the community, the country, the state, the town, get to know how they celebrate, what their traditions are, what means things to them, you know, how they feel, what they want, all that good stuff. Just get to know all about them in Mexico. And it's an experience that I don't regret, that I loved that we did that, because we got to be with them. We got to know each other. My husband got to go back and see how Mexico has changed since he left, how he felt, you know, could he really stay there and live, or was he just, no, you know, I love my country, love my town and my state, love my family, but I love the United States more as far as living. I think he loved both worlds. I think he did. But he knew that his life was here in the United States because he had children with me. He had a child with his ex-wife. And he just knew that he had to be here for that, even though it didn't work out with his previous marriage, and, you know, things didn't, you know, pan out like it normally would or should have. But people, you know, you try and you have the intention, but sometimes in life, things don't work out the way you plan it or you think that they will. So, but at that time, he thought he had plans and he had intentions. So he knew that his children were here and that our life was meant to be here and that we could always come back and visit. But before that, we did really want to try. You know, it was financially getting difficult here at that time. It was kind of like a recession. It was hard to get jobs. We had a baby. We didn't want to live with people, which is what we were doing. We were living with another couple, and it just wasn't productive. It didn't feel right. We didn't feel at peace. We didn't feel comfortable. We didn't feel happy. The trust wasn't there, and it was just a bunch of gossip, and it just was like not my cup of tea, not stuff that I like to be a part of. I don't like things that are toxic. And I have been a part of that kind of stuff, you know, just to kind of keep relationships going, family, friendships going. So you tend to put it behind you, forgive it, make up, try to make it work again. And you just go through life and you realize enough is enough. And it's not something that you want to go back to or willing to accept at all, not even to keep a family relationship, a friendship, not to keep nothing. Your family and your peace of mind, your sanity means everything. You have one life and you better live it the best way you can. So, yeah, so we decided, okay, you know, we didn't know what we wanted to do. And, you know, we didn't think about coming here in this town to be with my mom because she was here first. We just didn't think about that. We just went from one town to another town and it just didn't work out. And the thought of going to Mexico to give it a try, which was offered to us, was like, okay, let's try it. You just never know. You know, I'm a United States citizen. I can always come back to where I was born and raised. And my my daughter, which is, I only had one daughter at the time, could do the same. You know, I have my family to fall back on. You know, when I say family, not everybody in my family, like my parents were still alive. And that's what I'm talking about, my parents. I have my parents to fall back on. So we did it. So we moved in May of 1991. Like I said in the previous video, we took everything that we could put in 4 suitcases. I think it was like 4 or 5 because we had one for my daughter and 2 for each of us, because they allowed you 2, and the third one you had to pay for it. We sold and gave away anything that could not go in a suitcase on the plane. We decided we're going to start all over. So when we first got to Mexico, of course, it's exciting. You're meeting the family, you're laughing, you're having dinner together. And of course, like I spoke previously, the traditions as far as family bonding and the families being so close. And when the holidays came, they put their heart and soul to it. It was fun and exciting. So I was impressed with that part. I got to learn how to wash clothes by hand. You know, my husband was helping me hang up the clothes, so that was good. You know, I got used to the showering without a shower, with the, you know, buckets and stuff, and that was okay. So yeah, so it was really an exciting time the first few months. And then you got to see people's personalities and who you would get along with and who you wouldn't. You know, there was a time where one sister-in-law, she kind of insulted my husband, which is her brother, which is so weird to me. You know, when my husband had done nothing, but, you know, she was like insulting, like kind of about and he was skinny. It wasn't about that. It was something about his body, or, you know, something to that effect. And of course, you know, I protect my husband and my children with everything I have. And I'm like, you got a lot of nerve to talk about my husband. You need to look at your husband and his big teeth and his ugliness before you even try to point the finger to my husband. So if you don't want nobody to disrespect you or your husband, don't come for my husband, okay? Just period, point blank. And she was just like, and then my father-in-law, he laughed so hard. He goes, I love it. I love it when each one of you defend your husbands. That's how it should be. I love it. And she kind of was looking at him like, what's so funny? You know, like, but she didn't react. She didn't come back for me again. So, but then, you know, we pushed that to the side and we got along with that one particular sister-in-law for the most part. And then I had another sister-in-law who wanted me to eat a specific thing. I'm like, I don't want it. And she goes, just try it. I'm like, I don't want to try it. I already know I don't like it. And she kept insisting. And I said, what part don't you understand of this? I don't like it. I don't want to try it. She goes, fine, there'll be more for me. I'm like, that's great. So it was kind of serious, but not serious, like argument. But that was the first and only time with that sister-in-law that we had a little rift. The only time. With the others, it was a few times. So, yeah. And then with time, we looked back on it and laughed at what we argued about. It was so funny. So that was neat. And you expect that things aren't going to be perfect. You expect to, you know, get mad or agree to disagree at some points, but you kind of just move on and, you know, enjoy the happy moments that you have together. So we were just enjoying. My husband started to work because, you know, he was going to have to work if we were going to build a life in Mexico. He's a construction worker. From what I hear from everybody in the town and his family, he was one of the best. And his father was a master builder. So he built the hospitals there, the health clubs there, all kinds of, you know, big, huge buildings, rich people's houses, middle class people houses. He just was famous for being a master builder, his father. And so he taught a lot to my husband. So my husband was one of the best. And so he went back to that. And then I tried to get work. I thought, well, maybe I could work in the bank since I had worked in the bank for so long. I thought I would be good in the bank. And so I tried to get a job in the bank and they said, oh, you know, we have a ton of applications, and he showed me like the stack, and he said, oh my God. And then you're not a Mexican citizen, so we would put our Mexican citizens first. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. I said, well, I was just trying to get a job. If you should ever need me, you know, I would love to help. And he said, oh, okay, thank you. So they were real nice about it. It was kind of like hurtful that he said, we'll put our Mexican citizens first. But I guess the United States would do the same. Every country probably would do the same. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe I could go to the schools and teach English, because I've always worked all my life. So I wanted to have my own money. I wanted to be independent, even if I knew my husband would take care of me. So I went to the school. I said, maybe I could teach English. And they weren't hiring either. So I thought, okay. So my husband worked. He made, stable, good money. And so he would give me a certain amount of money a week to buy what I needed for me and the baby. And we didn't have bills there or anything. We lived with my in-laws. We didn't have any bills like rent, electricity, none of that. And so I don't know if my husband gave my in-laws something for the electricity or the, I don't know, phone or whatever. He probably has. He bought a lot of stuff for my in-laws that they needed. And so that was good. And I know my mother, she built like a little store. She turned her was it like her living room or the garage? I can't remember exactly. I'm gonna remember my head in a minute. But she turned it into a little store. So, and she would make like these Mexican chips, and my husband would help her make them. You had to do it in a big old pot, and he would put them in baggies, and she would sell them by the baggies. And she would sell soaps and eggs and all kinds of stuff. She had a little good store going there. So instead of me putting my money into other stores in the town, I would just go to her little store inside the house or the garage and buy from her. And so, and that's how we did it. And if I wanted to buy anything for myself, whether it was jewelry or makeup, I could do that. My sister-in-laws would take me to the town and show me the different stores, and I would buy stuff for myself, because I always believe you should always treat yourself. You should always make yourself feel good with a gift or a few items of buying. It just makes you feel so good. And I knew I was a great mom and a great wife, so I certainly deserved it. So they showed me the different stores. I would do that and stuff like that. And then on the weekends, we would go to the plaza, and my husband would take me to lunch or dinner. We would eat tacos. We would eat all the great Mexican food. So, but Sundays was kind of weird, because between certain hours, there's like this 4 hour period where everything would shut down, and you would think on the weekends thing would be opening and the stores would be booming and selling. But no, on Sundays, which is the main day, you would go to church, and after church, the plaza, they had a lot of vendors that had a lot of foods and stuff, and people selling things and toys and stuff like that for kids. But as far as shopping in the store, they would shut down after a certain time, which was, I think, like 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, or after 2 o'clock, everything didn't reopen again. And you're like, oh my God, what if you wanted to buy something? So that was kind of different and weird to me that they would pick that day. Saturdays was probably the best day, where nobody worked and the family could come together and laugh and talk and eat together. So I looked forward to those weekends. And even in the evenings, they would come over and we would talk and laugh. And there would be the storytelling of my father-in-law and all the memories of that. And then I remember joining a health, not a health club, but a ladies, kind of like a Zumba class. I don't know if that's when Zumba started, or it was just something equal to Zumba, but she lived kind of like down the street and around the corner, and she had a gym in her home, and you had to pay to go to her classes. And I was already skinny. I had a great body, but I wanted to stay in shape. So me and my couple of sister-in-laws, we joined it, and it felt really good to exercise. Feel like there was a piece of home with me. And so, yeah, so we did that. And then I remember dressing up one Sunday, and my father-in-law saying, wow, he goes, you're really, really beautiful. He said, you look really beautiful in photos, but you are really beautiful in person. And I say that with all the respect in the world. And I had dressed up. I had put on a mini skirt and a blouse and some high heels, and my husband was going to take us to the plaza. And so I remember going in the plaza and I remember people staring at us. And I don't know if it's because I really didn't look Mexican or they never had seen me, and pretty much everybody knows everybody. And they're like, who is that? They recognize my husband and they're like, that's not his wife. Because he's been separated from his wife. But didn't he get married again? And you could kind of hear them talk about it. Didn't he get married again in Mexico? And his wife wasn't white like her, and we heard she was really, really, really short. And that's not the description that we heard that who he married. And he goes, this girl's really tall, which I've never considered myself tall. I'm 5'4". I'm sure in heels I may look taller, but I'm really not a tall person. But they were saying she's really tall and really white, and I was much whiter than I am now. Oh my God, she's the one that he remarried again, and she's the American from the United States. That's it. But you could hear, actually, they were loud, like you could hear them saying, and you kind of looked around like, does she speak Spanish? I think she speaks Spanish because she's looking back at us like, what the fuck are you saying? I was. I really was thinking that. What the fuck are you saying? You know, the audacity, but it was all good, but it was just so curiosity and the gossip and stuff. And so some people would actually stop me like, Jorge, how are you? It's good to see you back. And like, introduce us to your wife. And he goes, oh, sure. He goes, this is my wife, Carmen. And this is our baby, Adriana. And she's like, oh, your wife is so beautiful. Like if I didn't speak Spanish. And I would be like, gracias. And they're like, oh, she speaks Spanish. ¿Hablas español? And I'm like, claro que sí. And then they're like, she speaks really good Spanish. I'm like, claro que sí, hablo español. And so that means, of course, yes, I do. I speak Spanish. And then they're like, oh, eres la americana. And I'm like, yeah, I'm from the United States, but I'm Puerto Rican. Oh, and they were like, oh, so you're born in the United States, but you're Puerto Rican. And I'm like, yeah, mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, okay, that's so nice. And so they would say, oh, ¿te gusta México? And I said, sí, muchísimo, which means, do you love Mexico? And I'm like, yes, very much so. Oh, qué bueno, bienvenida. And I'm like, thank you, gracias. And they're like, welcome to Mexico. I'm like, oh, thank you. And they're like, eres hermosa. Jorge, sí sabes coger bien. And I'm like, oh, gracias. Like, you're so beautiful. Jorge chooses good. And then they're like, at least this time. And I'm like, okay, which one are they talking about? His first wife? Because his second wife never went to Mexico. Never. So they never met her unless somebody described her or showed her in pictures. But, you know, I think they were comparing me to his first wife. And they're like, oh, much better. Jorge, your choices are getting better. And he would just laugh. And I felt really flattered that they really thought I was pretty and that they welcomed me, even though they were just gossiping about it, but I don't think they could help themselves. And they're like, oh, ¿te vas a quedar un buen rato? And like, are you going to be here a while? I'm like, bueno, en realidad vine a vivir aquí a Mexico. And I'm like, well, in reality, we came to live in Mexico. That was like their shocker, like, what? And like, ¿dejarías el Estados Unidos por venir acá a Mexico? Which means you would leave the United States to be here in Mexico. I'm like, well, no lo estoy dejando para siempre. Soy muy feliz. Siempre he sido feliz y orgullosa de ser de Estados Unidos. Y ahí está mi familia, mis recuerdos. So siempre Estados Unidos va a estar en mi corazón. And which means, you know, I'm very happy and proud to be from the United States. My family, my memories are there, and I will always be with them. They will always be in my heart and soul and stuff like that. And so, and I'll go back, you know, I'm not going to be here forever. And so they're like, you would really leave the United States to be in Mexico? That was a shocker. And then I would tell them, bueno, vine a ver cómo nos va, la experiencia que vamos a tener en México. Y pues si se puede y todo sale bien, pues claro, vamos a vivir aquí, vamos a hacer una casita y pues a ver si podemos tener un futuro aquí y llegar pues a conocer mis suegros, a la familia y pues todo lo que México me tenga que ofrecer o nos ofrece, pues vamos a ver cómo nos va. And so I told them, I'm like, well, you know, you know, we came here to experience, see how it goes for us, and if it's meant for us to live here, we'll build a house of our own, and we'll just get to continue to share with the family and my in-laws and get to know them and all that good stuff. And if it's meant for us to have a future here, we will. So we're just giving it a try. And they're like, oh my God, Jorge, you picked a winner. She would follow you, and she loves Mexico, and she loves you, and you have a beautiful baby, and oh my God, she's willing to live here. And so I said, yeah, and build a house. And they were just so stunned that I spoke Spanish perfectly. So she said, oh, felicidades, estás hermosa, la niña está hermosa, felicidades, ojalá que les vaya bien y que les siga gustando Mexico. So she was like, congratulations, you're beautiful, your baby's beautiful. I really hope that you continue to love Mexico and that it would work. And I said, oh, gracias, pues esperamos que sí. And so that means, well, hope so. Hopefully it'll work out. But un gusto de conocerlos y bueno, nos tenemos que ir porque ya nos tenemos que ir a la casa. And I said, well, it's a pleasure meeting you guys, but we got to go back home. You know, the baby's kind of wanting to be back home. And they're like, oh, igualmente, like the same here. And come by anytime. This is your house. You know, come by anytime. We love to have you. And I said, oh, muchas gracias. And I said, vamos a ver, tal vez. And then I said, well, we'll see, you know, but thank you very much for the invite. And she said, our house is your house. You're welcome to come by anytime. So people got to know me and were really, really friendly, really friendly. They could have had some part of gossiping in them because the curiosity killed the cat. But sometimes when people have curiosity and gossip at first, once they get to know you, you know, it's really coming from their heart, and it's flattering and stuff like that. So, and I realized as I walked away, she goes, ¿Y qué cuerpazo tiene? Oh my God. And I looked back and they're like, the husband's like, can you just lower your voice? So I just started laughing because at first I looked and then they're like, oh man, she's mad. And then I kind of laughed and they were saying, gosh, she has a bomb body. Like she has a good body. She's tall. She's white. She's, you know, well, to them, white is like light-skinned, you know, and so she's so beautiful and she has a good body. And man, well, I wish I still had that body now, but I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to be healthy for the most part, and I could always lose the weight. I don't feel I've been bigger once, and I don't ever want to go back to that, but I feel that I love my body. I love myself. The only thing I want to work on as far as losing weight is my stomach. That's it. I think I inherited after my mom. My mom was skinny, but she had a big stomach. So do I. But my sisters don't have big stomachs. I don't know about my older sister. She had gained weight because she had back damage and arthritis in her back and her knees, and she didn't work anymore, and so she started to gain a little bit of weight. So I don't know how she looks now. My mid sister has a beautiful body. I mean, and she's always worked out. I don't think she works out like in a gym anymore, but she loves to walk the beach, which she has a beach close to her house. She just always, you know, stays in good shape, and so her body has never falter from that. I mean, I haven't seen her in a few years, so maybe things have changed. But as far as things that she posts, which I don't see a lot either because I don't have her on Facebook. If she posts something, it'll be on Instagram. And the last pictures that I did see on Instagram, she looked good still. So we're not a family that's heavyweight. Everybody is really skinny and have good bodies in our family. Me and one brother are the only ones that really have gained weight through the years and lost it and kept it off reviews and gained weight. We have gone up and down through the years. So I know I can lose weight anytime, but even for having an extra amount of stomach, I really think I look good in clothes and stuff. So, maybe it's not for everybody. But yeah, so I mean this video is going too long. I forget. I'm just talking and talking. But yeah, so it was the first few months were exciting, and then somehow we had a few rifts here and there that we were able to get beyond and still even talk back about it and laugh about it. And then as the summer was great, even though their weather is really different than over here in the United States, it didn't really have specific times. It's kind of like our summer was their winter was our summer. vice versa. It was kind of like we were reversed. So I did notice that as far as the weather. And, I admire because a lot of people in Mexico, they can predict the weather. They don't need the weatherman or anything. They're like, take the clothes off the line. It's about to rain. And you're like, oh my God, it's hot and sunny. What are you talking about? Want my clothes to hang? No, it's about to rain. Take the clothes down. And like 5 minutes later, just start pouring down from being sunny and hot. So they just knew. They knew when lightning was coming, thunder was coming. Oh my God, you hear that? And I'm like, hear what? Like, it's about to thunder. I'm like, no, it's clear as it. And let me tell you something. Their thunders over there are the most scariest things ever. It feels like the house was going to be lifted off the ground and thrown away. Our thunders here are nothing compared to Mexico. So I didn't like that, and I didn't like the mosquitoes. So far, my negative is mosquitoes and thunders. Oh my God. I remember they had a thunder over there, and I ran all the way downstairs. My mother was in a bedroom downstairs, and I ran and I hugged her so bad. I still needed my mommy when it came to thunders. I guess I could have hugged my husband, but I don't really remember if he was in near sight. But since my mother was there, I took advantage. I wanted to be with my mom. So yeah, that goes on my negative list. The thunders, I could do without those scary suckers. But I was glad that they were able to predict it because they could get me ready for it and stuff. But yeah, so the first few months was great. I mean, I got to have so many memories and experiences. And I felt like my journey, it was meant for me to have that journey, whether it was going to be permanent or not. And then my mother stayed with me, like I said, those first 3 months, the memories. And see, I wish I would have had, camera to capture me and my mom in Mexico. I so regret. It's just so upsetting. It just really makes me sad that I didn't push for it and that I really didn't take the time, you know, to capture, because oh my God, I would have loved a picture of my mom in Mexico, even if it was just one picture. I really don't think I have one of her in Mexico, but I'm gonna dig deep in the bin. Maybe I just haven't been through the pictures to remember if I have one or not. But there are so many memories that I could have captured, and I hate it because I'm such a big camera photography video person. Me and my family, we take pictures of everything and video record everything, good, bad, and we have so many tons and tons of memories. My daughter just went through a whole case. I'll take a picture and try to remember to include in this video of 8mm cassettes, because my camera was a Sony 8mm, and she had to, my camera, I can't even find it, and it was broken. I was going to try to have it repaired. You put the cassette in and you push it in, and wouldn't stay in, would pop back out, so you couldn't see the videos. So she ended up finding a similar one on eBay, and so she's transferring all those memories onto a USB or DVD. And so she went through this whole box and returned the original tapes to me. But I'm hoping that in those videos there's something about Mexico, but I didn't have a video camera when I was in Mexico. So it would only have been pictures. And oh wow, I just really, that's one of my biggest regrets in life, is not capturing those memories, especially with my mom being there 3 months worth. Oh, can you imagine the memories and our whole journey there? But I'm going to see what I can find and try to include it in these series. But yeah, so those first few months, especially the first 3 months with my mom being there and having those experiences and the memories and the journey, was just amazing. As we started to get towards the winter months, which for our winter, because it really wasn't winter for them, things started to get a little tough. And one of the reasons was because I couldn't find work, and I really wanted to be independent and have money. And sometimes in construction jobs, things are not always great or stable. And so when my husband did make good money, of course he gave money for me and the baby. But when things were tight and they didn't have a project to work on, it was hard. The good thing, we were lucky that we lived with my in-laws and we didn't need for nothing. Really, they have food there. They had everything that we needed. So we really didn't need it. The only thing that we would need would be baby formula and stuff like that, and diapers and stuff. So that would probably be the only few needs that we needed. So that was good. So in case money wasn't coming in, we would really be okay. But it just wasn't, it was just tough, because you don't want to, you know, bother anybody. You don't want to depend on anybody and their money or their foods. I wanted for us to have our own stuff and be able to buy our own stuff. And, you know, I didn't want the toll to be all on my husband. I wanted to be independent as I always have been for all of us. And so financially, it started to get, you know, we were even going to get married over there, and they said that I had to be like, one of the requirements is that I had to be at least a resident. I had to turn in paperwork to at least become a resident of Mexico. And it was a bigger process back then. And I'm like, no, it's not all, you know, it's okay. Whenever we get back to the United States, we'll do it then. So we let that go. Financially, I couldn't get a job, and it was just, you know, kind of tight as far as we were concerned. So financially, it started to get real rough. And then, well, I'm going to cut it short here because I'm sure this video, it's already 29 and I have other clips to add. So I'm going to have to put this in another part. I think this is part 4, and then I'm going to part 5. I know in the last video I said the wrong part. I think I said 4 and it was really 3. So I believe this is 4, but don't quote me on that. So I was trying to, in this video, I was just trying to recap from the time that we moved there. What were those months like? What do I remember? You know, how things dwindled down, or how we're getting closer to the decision that we made to come back to the States. So kind of recapping, that's what this video is about. So anyway, I hope you like this video, this little chit chat storytelling of our life abroad, living in Mexico. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, because that's the only way you get heads up on every time I upload a video. And don't forget to like, share, and all that. I guess I was going to say subscribe again. Like, share, subscribe. I'll say it again. So into my next video. Take care.